lovely day. I'm back again with the project for PAPERTREY Ink. Well, Christmas is almost here, so I'm going to squeeze another card in and we're going to shake it up. We're going to create a double shaker card for today's project. We're going to be using a couple new items from the PAPERTREY Ink shop. These are brand new, part of the latest release. This is the larger than life snow sentiments. We'll be using this to stamp our sentiment on our card, and we're also going to be using a new die set. This creates, you have a bell, you have a tree, and you have an ornament, and then you have the background piece to create real easy Christmas shakers. In fact, that's the name of the set. It's called Christmas Shakers. So we're going to create a double shaker on a card today, and I'm also going to bring in some of the pine needles from the Into the Blooms pine die set. This came out in a later release, but I like the pine needles, and we're going to throw it in with our double shaker card today. So first, what we need to do is take some cardstock and do a little bit of die cutting. We're going to be using the ornament today for our card, and we're going to create 2 ornament shakers. So we have the outline, which makes great tags, by the way. If you layer them together, it makes an even more fantastic tag, but if you want to shake it up, you can create an easy shaker card with this. So we're going to die cut these out along with the star, and then the ornament has a topper that has some debossed detail, and we're going to die cut this out too. For my ornaments, I want 2 different shades of red. So I have Pure Poppy, and we're going to die cut this out with Pure Poppy, and then I have Scarlet Jewel. It's a darker, deeper regal red. We're going to die cut out, actually not this, we're going to die cut out 2 colored ornaments here with this die. With the background, I'm going to die cut out 1 with white cardstock, and then also I'm going to use that on a piece of acetate, just 1 though. And then I have some glittery cardstock. I'm not sure if I'll use them or not, but I wanted some stars. So I'm going to die cut out about 3 stars with this glitter cardstock. And then we have the blue. This is what my ornaments background are going to be. So this is Blueberry Sky. We're not going to do any die cutting with this. We're going to create a background. We'll do that in just a minute. But for these 2 color greens, I have Simply Chartreuse, and then this one is Limeade Ice. That is the colors we're going to use with our Into the Blooms pine. And I'm just going to use 1 pine needle, and I'm going to use the shorter one and die cut out 2 on the Simply Chartreuse and 2 on the Limeade Ice cardstock. So I have a little bit of die cutting to do. When I'm all done, we're going to create a shaker and create a background too. I'm going to put this off to the side, and then I need to do a little bit of ink blending on my ornaments here. To do that, I'm going to grab my craft mat. Oh, and I didn't mention, but I used some silver cardstock for the top of the Christmas bulbs. Oops, we'll pop that out. I wanted, when you add the Christmas bulb ornament topper, the top of the ornament is the same color as the bulb, and I wanted it silver for today's project. So I die cut out just the top of my Christmas ornament with silver. I'm going to use my tape runner, and we're going to first adhere the top of our ornament. And I didn't go all the way down because it's going to be covered with our embossed bottom piece. I'm just going to layer this, and then I'll layer both of my silver pieces. Let's see. And I'll do the same thing with this one. Wonderful. Now I mentioned I want to do a little bit of ink blending. So first what we're going to do is add a little color to these ornaments here. Now for the red for the Pure Poppy ornament, I'm going to use Scarlet Jewel, which is the same color as this cardstock. And I'm going to do a little shading on the bottom. I'm going to go darker and then kind of fade up. Some of this is going to be covered, but I just wanted a little bit of contrast. And I like the two-tone of that. Now, since I don't have a shade darker for my Scarlet Jewel cardstock, I'm going to bring in my true black ink. And I'm going to use one of my blending brushes here. I'm going to pick up a little bit of the ink and I'm going to add a little color to this. And I think the black will create that fade that I want. Wonderful. And again, for the most part, you're probably only going to see a little bit of these, but that's okay. I'm keeping my black ink out because we're going to do a little bit more ink blending. We're going to ink blend on a piece of Blueberry Sky cardstock. Now this cardstock is 4 inches by 5 1/4. And I like to add blue first and then add black around the edges. I like to create skies with this. So I'm going to start with my dark indigo ink. And I already have a dauber underneath it. I did this before. I'm going to pick up a little color. I'm not going to worry about the bottom. I'm just going to add a little halo around the top here. Okay, after we have our dark indigo on the top area, I'm going to go ahead and use my same blending brush, pick up some of my true black ink, and we're really going to darken these edges. And I think that's going to work out great. Now again, I'm not going to be worried about here. For the most part, it's going to be covered. Only a little bit's going to be peeking out. And now I do want to do, I want to do splattering with some white ink. But before we do that, I do want to bring in another craft mat here. I'm going to use my white distress ink and put a little bit on my craft mat. And I'm going to splatter a little bit of snowfall in the background. And I think I have a couple blobs, but I think I can still get away with this. I'm going to set this aside to let dry. And then in the meantime, now I'm going to take my pine needles and I want some frostiness to them. I want some white tips, like they're snow tipped. So I'm going to take a watermark marker and I'm going to add a little bit of watermark to the ends. And then since watermark ink will dry, I'm going to take my white embossing powder and then I'm going to go over the ends here. So we have a little watermark, and then I'll use my heat gun and I'll melt it. So the ends have some white to them. I'm going to do the same thing to the rest of my pine needles. Frostiness to them. I'm going to put these off to the side, and now we're going to build a shaker. Let's see. And I'm going to put this one in the background. We're going to work on our red one first. So I'm going to turn this around using my tape runner. We're going to add adhesive all along the back side. When I was doing my die cutting, I had created an acetate using the same, the background die is this one. And we're going to take that, we're going to take it and put it on the back of our ornament. And then I'm going to use some very thin foam strips and we're going to go around the edge. To create my shaker, I'm going to be using some sequins. I have a white sequin and then I have a clear one. I'm just going to open these up. And I forget the names of these, but I'll list them down below. I'm just going to add a few here. we're going to do a little mixing and matching. And since I'm only using one layer of foam adhesive, my shakers aren't going to shake too much. And I like that because they stay a little bit stationary. Now I'm also, for my stash, I have some, I think these are called bugle beads. I'm going to add a few to our shaker as well. And then I have also some seed beads. These are like a clear, still going with the white theme. I love adding seed beads because they make sound. They make your card noisy. I'm going to take the back of my ornament, and then we're going to layer them both together. We're just going to sandwich them. I'm going to press down really good. We don't want any of that confetti to come out. You can hear the seed beads. And that is ornament number 1. To create my second shaker with this one, we're going to do it a little bit different. I'm going to take that die that we used for our background, and I'm going to place this on my panel where I want it to go. Since we're making an A2, it's going to be a little bit of a tight squeeze, but I'm going to love the outcome. I'm going to overlap them like this. I think that's going to work out great. Maybe lower it a little bit. I think this is a great spot for this ornament. So I'm going to tape this down. I'm going to go ahead and tape this down. And I'm going to run this through my die cut machine. And I will be right back. I ran this through my die cut machine, and you can save this for another ornament. We're not going to use this piece, oops, but we are going to use the background. To create the shaker, it's very easy. I'm going to flip this around, and then I'm going to use my tape runner, and then I have another piece of acetate we're going to cover it with. I put the acetate behind here, and then I also put some foam tape. I'm going to remove the release paper. Now you'll notice I have a weird strip of foam tape on here. Now I did that to save me from the sequins from falling down on the front of my card. Let me show you. I'm going to flip it around, and you see where it's blocked off. That's where we're going to be putting this ornament. And so I figured if I block this off, my sequins won't fall down here. So it's just like a sequin blocker. I'm going to remove the release paper. Usually, typically, when you make shaker cards, you double up on the foam adhesive, but since I'm only using one layer, we can put 2 on our card today. Now I'm going to add the same sequins that we added to card number 1. Since I removed the release paper, now I have a panel that's a little bit smaller than this panel. I'm going to put this on the back. I'm going to press down really good. I'm going to flip this over, and we have a lot of pretty sparkle. Now this looks great on its own, but I'm going to go ahead and take my tape runner and add adhesive behind our Scarlet Jewel ornament. And we're going to just inlay this right over our acetate. And believe it or not, it's flat. It's just minus the foam tape we added on the back side. It's flat, but we have a real pretty ornament here. Now I'm going to take this ornament that we created. I'm going to add this over here. And then we're going to layer this over here. Press that down, and we have a double shaker. Super fun. Not too thick at all. Trust me, I've made more dimensional cards than this. Okay, now I want a snowbank for this card so we can stamp our sentiment. So I'm going to take some white cardstock. I'm going to freehand a snowbank that's higher on this side, and it's kind of going to swoop down a little bit. I don't want to cover the ornament too much. I more or less want to cover the blue that's on the bottom here. So just using my scissors, I'm going to kind of freehand it. I think that actually worked out great. We're going to use it. If it didn't, we always have option number 2. But I think this is exactly what I wanted. Before we adhere this, I do want to stamp my sentiment on here. We're going to stamp the larger than life snow sentiments. And I like the one on the bottom that says falling. It'll say snow. Falling is just one of the many blessings to enjoy the season. I love that. So I'm going to stamp this, and I'm going to stamp it in the middle. Wonderful. And then I'm going to take my snow sentiment. I'm going to stamp this with black ink also. I'm going to stamp this to the left. I think that's really pretty. And now this half is going to lay on top of this shaker, so we need some more foam adhesive over here. Lovely. I'm going to flip this panel around, and we need to attach this to a card base. It's going to leave me a little bit of a border. I love that. Okay, we have our stars, and we also have our pine needles. I may need to do a little trimming with these. I want to do a little tucking. So I'm going to trim a little bit away. Add some adhesive. I always like to do the bottom part of it and let the rest free flow. And I'm going to tuck these out of my snowbank here, alternating in colors. I think 3 is the perfect amount. I'm not going to use this one. I can always save this one for another project. But I didn't want to hide my ornaments here. But I do have my stars. We're going to flip these around. I'm going to use some small foam squares, and we're going to pop these up. Add a little extra sparkle. Okay, now I think I'm going to add some white twine in my ornaments here. I'm just going to thread it through, and then we will. I don't think I want to tie a bow or anything. I think I just want to let it do its thing. I think that looks wonderful. I have plenty of shimmer, that's for sure. It's not too bulky at all, but we have lots of dimension. Plenty of room to write a sentiment. But that will finish off my project today for Papertrey Ink. Thank you so much for joining me. I wish you a lovely day, and we will see you again real soon.